One of the most common reasons people smoke weed, myself once included, is for stress relief. And if you're struggling with weed addiction and you're in the process of trying to quit, quitting is going to be very hard if you still have the perceived benefit of stress relief. So in today's video, what I want to do is take a moment and decide whether or not weed is adding to your tolerance for stress, so helping you manage stress better, or whether it's decreasing your tolerance for stress, making you manage stress worse. Because figuring this out for a lot of people is going to be a huge part of their quitting process. Does weed add to or take away from a person's ability to tolerate stress? And this is a super important conversation because having a high tolerance for stress, a high ability to handle stress, is one of the key indicators for success in a person's life. And this could be success within your family, managing kids, husband, wife. This could be success within your physical health, success within certainly your business or your financial health. So stress tolerance is really important. The question is, does weed help or hurt? Now, one of the main fears that people run into when it comes to quitting smoking weed is, how am I going to manage stress, the stress of my day-to-day life? And what I tell people is that fear is often nothing more than false expectations appearing real. You have to remember, if you've been smoking weed for a long period of time, you don't know any other way than how to cope with stress than smoking weed. So of course, quitting smoking weed or putting weed aside is going to be a very, very fearful thing. And it's often this fear or this false expectation appearing real, the idea that we won't be able to manage stress anymore without weed, that keeps people addicted, that keeps people from quitting smoking. Now, in order to understand this conversation, we have to identify what are the causes of stress, or some of the most common causes of stress in a person's life. These were the ones that I could think of for myself, but if you want, drop your causes of stress down in the comments below. It's typically related to health reasons, certainly financial. I'd say that's maybe one of the biggest ones for people. Work-related stress, family or relationship-related stress, and then there's the silent stress of procrastination. So these are things that we have to do maybe when it's work-related, family-related, keeping up around the house, and these are things that we procrastinate on. Procrastination for people tends to be a major source of stress in their lives. So the first thing you got to do before you figure out whether or not weed is helping or hurting your ability to manage stress or your stress tolerance is you have to figure out, what are the things in your life that are stressing you out? What are the things in your life that you're smoking weed to escape from in regard to the stress that those things are creating? Now, for some people, they may be so far into smoking weed or consuming substances that they don't even truly know what it is that's stressing them out anymore. And if that's the case for you, keep watching because I have some really good news. Now, after we determine the things in our life that are causing us stress, what we want to do is we have to decide whether or not weed is actually helping or if it's adding to those stressors in our life. And what I mean by this is, if you're thinking about quitting smoking weed, but weed is adding to the amount of stress in your life, and you're scared to quit because you're worried that you can't manage the stress that you have, well, if weed is adding to the stress in your life and we remove that, maybe now you'd be better able to manage the day-to-day stressors if we remove the stressors created by perhaps cannabis substance use disorder or weed addiction. So ask yourself, is weed actually helping or is it adding to the stress that you experience day to day? Now, one thing that so many people forget when I'm having this conversation with them is that there is a major stress when it comes to addiction. There's a social aspect of stress when it comes to drug use. There's certainly a financial aspect of stress when it comes to drug use, the money that you're spending on the substance. There's many times interruptions in our professional careers or in our businesses. Those things can become amplified when we're under the influence of a substance. Is your family okay with you smoking? Is this something that they support? Or is the cannabis addiction putting a strain on any significant relationships that you may have? Husband, wife, kids, co-workers, whatever it may be. And then maybe most importantly, the stress of procrastination. Does weed aid in your ability to execute tasks daily, or is it taking away from the execution of things that need to be done? I.e., is weed making you procrastinate more? Is addiction and the consequences of addiction, not having the time because you're spending time smoking, not having the physical capacity because your health is declining, not having the financial capacity to do things because you're spending your money on a drug? Are these things adding to these major stressors that most people experience in day-to-day life? And this is a really important concept. Is the stress and the consequences of addiction adding, or maybe let's call it, is it 50% responsible for a lot of the stress that you're experiencing? Because again, when people think about quitting smoking weed, they're thinking to themselves, how am I going to manage all the stress in my life without my coping tool? Well, what if that coping tool and the consequences of addiction are responsible for about 50% of the stress that you have in life? If we eliminated 50%, i.e. addiction, of the stress that you experience day to day, would you then maybe better be able to manage the stressors that everyone experiences when it comes from family, work, finances, all of that stuff? Not only that, would these things start to improve in the absence of addiction, resulting in less stress? I can say with certainty, when I'm executing on my daily tasks, when I'm more involved with my family, when I'm doing better financially, which usually comes from doing better socially, I have significantly less stress in my life. For me, cannabis use was preventing me from correcting and addressing each of these stressors, because I was constantly so stressed over, when am I going to smoke again? Where am I going to get weed from again? When am I going to be able to get high again? And then the constant physiological stress that your body is under from addiction, the stress of cravings, the stress of everyday withdrawal symptoms in between smoking sessions. Physiologically and psychologally, addiction, whether it's related to cannabis, alcohol, pills, is a very, very stressful environment that a person creates for themselves with substance use. Now, quitting weed for me, it did absolutely result in 50% less stress in my life. And what I found after quitting was I was much better to manage the day-to-day stressors without weed. So I had all of this fear, a false expectation appearing real, that without weed I wasn't going to be able to manage stress. But when I quit weed, a lot of the stress of addiction went to the wayside in my life, and I was actually much better capable of managing stress because I increased my stress tolerance, because I got rid of something that was chewing up 50% of my stress tolerance. Maybe for someone this is 25%, maybe for someone this is 100% of all the stress that they're experiencing. And honestly, this goes back to the beginning of my conversation. If you're not even sure at this point what it is that's causing you stress, there's a good chance that a majority of it, over 50% of it, is coming from addiction. And this is what addiction does. It creates a delusion, it creates a fog, it creates a facade, a cloud, where we're unable to interpret what it is that's actually going on and not going on in our lives. And out of that stress from not knowing what's happening or how to find solutions to things, we do what we've been trained how to do best by that addicted voice. We go back to smoking weed. So this is what I want you guys to think about. Would life and stress management be easier with improved physical health, improved finances, improved relationships, improved socialization? Would that give you the ability to better manage stress? Now, in my day-to-day life, I have some simple ways that I cope with stress. There's cleaning. I enjoy cleaning. It takes my mind off of things. Organizing my house, cleaning my car. It puts me in the right mindset to tackle my week and tackle my day anytime I get rid of clutter. So that's something I enjoy. Cooking can be very stress relieving. Gardening can be very stress relieving. Executing on my daily tasks. not procrastinating, something I did a lot of when I was under the influence of substances, even though sometimes I would think I was productive. It was honestly like a symptom of psychosis, I think. Executing on my day-to-day tasks and not procrastinating on things anymore is a significant amount of stress relief in my life that I did not experience when I was addicted. Working out, exercise for sure, sleeping better, deep breathing. Just by not having the physical burden on my body of addiction, I started to get better sleep. I started to be able to exercise more. I started to get more into deep breathing, self-hypnosis, meditation type stuff. This actually improved my quality of life through better sleep, through better nutrition, through better physical capabilities. Hobbies I find extremely stress relieving, whether it's target shooting or making YouTube videos, which is now a career for me. And then certainly talk therapy and socializing and talking to others, especially if I am facing a particular challenging situation. Being able to talk through that with someone has been game changing when it comes to how I manage stress. My stress tolerance since quitting smoking weed has significantly increased. My ability to tolerate stress has increased. And you guys can see it on my channel. I've seen it in my personal life, my financial life. I've seen it in my physical health and my mental health. Everything has improved the better I've been able to manage stress once I got that addiction, which for me was a major source of stress in my life, out of my life. Now, the other thing that I mentioned on here in red is KSM-66 ashwagandha. This is an herb. It's clinically shown to help improve a person's stress tolerance through a pathway of cortisol reduction, okay? So KSM-66 is an herb that literally helps people manage stress better. It's something I've used for a very long time, and you can find it in our Kick It Crave Less chewing gum supplement. It's a supplement that we designed with N-acetylcysteine and KSM-66 to help people with the mindset when it comes to quitting substances. It helps to reduce cravings. It helps with the stress tolerance. It helps ease some of that anxiety. KSM-66 has also been shown to be beneficial with N-acetylcysteine when it comes to alleviating possible symptoms of depression. So this is an awesome supplement. It's a chewing gum. You get 90 pieces in a bottle, and you can find it below right in the video description there or pinned comment. Now, if you found today's video helpful and you want to learn more, be sure to check out the pinned comment where you can join our Addiction Mindset. It's a private group coaching community where we have conversations just like this on a monthly basis. We have our supplements, and then we have the one-on-one Addiction Mindset recovery coaching programs. You can also download our free 100-page PDF ebook on quitting weed and quitting nicotine to help you get your stress tolerance up. Don't neglect this. Really give it some thought. Is weed actually helping you tolerate stress? Or is that simply another delusion or illusion crafted by the manipulation of that addicted voice in our brains? Good luck. Until next time, I'll see you in the pinned comment.